Okay, if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and kick it off. Everybody ready? Thumbs up. All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Wildcat virtual seminar with some very familiar faces, except for me. I'm Alex Flanagan, class of 1993 from Tucson, Arizona. Grew up in Sonoyta, Arizona, about an hour south of the university. My mother is a proud U of A graduate, and 5 of my 6 siblings actually U of A graduates as well. So as well as my husband, who some of you might remember, Kevin Flanagan, played basketball at the University of Arizona back in the day. So very proud of my alma mater, and I've helped out with the National Leadership Council there for a number of years, and I keep my eye on all of the sports programs. So I'm thrilled to be here today, kind of guiding you all through this virtual Wildcat chat panel discussion that we're about to have. So I probably don't need to introduce all these faces that you all see because you know them so well, but we will do so anyways. So let's start. I'm going to kind of go through as I see you all on the screen. I don't know if it's the same for everybody that's watching, but Sean Miller, of course, the University of Arizona head basketball coach, coming to us from his home. On my other side, I see Kevin Sumlin, the University of Arizona football coach there. And then our Vice President and Director of Athletics, Dave Heeke, is here as well today. Women's basketball coach, woo! Head basketball coach, Adia Barnes as well. And then, of course, we have, you all recognize, of course, softball head coach Mike Candrea, who has been holding it down at the University of Arizona for a long time and doing such a good job at it. So our format today that we're going to work off of is the fans. Thank you all out there for providing all of the questions that you have and submitting all of those to us. We will get to those in a little bit. We also have some great giveaways. So Nike has provided some fan packages for us. So throughout this, we'll be calling out some winners and then figuring out how to get those great packages to you guys as well. And we have an hour of time to do this, so we kind of have a little bit of a lengthy format to be able to really answer some of your questions and dig in and really give you guys some behind the scenes access to your coaches and to the University of Arizona's athletic department. So you guys, I'm gonna start though in a pretty heavy spot, kind of the state of our country right now. And just in these last couple of weeks, we have had so much time really to reflect on some of the change that needs to happen in our country and some of the social issues that we're encountering really as a people and as a world. And Dave, maybe I'll start with you on that and just ask you, how have you been really processing all that's been going on?
Well, thanks, Alex, and it's good to be with everyone and have these rock star coaches with us too, and a great group of fans. Yeah, you know, I think it has been certainly a testing time for recently, you know, for us all to step back and think very critically about what's going on in the world. You know, I've been so proud of what our staff and the way that some really powerful statements they've made, some of the, you know, the coaches right here. But, you know, the social issues, the racial injustice that we're facing, obviously the critical moment, you know, the death of George Floyd, it was, you know, just really a powerful time in those first, you know, several days. But I think it's also allowed us all to, as I said, to step back, to really think about how we listen, how we can learn from each other, how we can grow, because you know, we've had a one student athlete Zoom session together with our student athletes. We had a really powerful staff conversation with almost 200 of our staff in this kind of format, just to talk about it. And, you know, I think we all know we've got to step up. We've got to stand up, be counted. We need to make some changes. And again, I've been really proud of how our staff has, you know, looked forward and looked for ways to move forward. And hey, you know what? In this moment, we've got to stand up. We've got to stand with our Black student athletes, our Black coaches, our Black staff, all of those across the country. And we need to, you know, be advocates, be allies, be supporters, and learn. step back, listen, and learn. So I think it's been a very powerful time for me personally, and I know it's been a powerful time for our staff, for our student athletes who aren't with us. So that's been a little unique. They're not right here. They've been with us somewhat virtually, but they're not on our campus. They're not here for us to, kind of rally together with. And they're going to start to trickle back. We'll talk more about that. But really important time for us. And I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of what we're going to do. And I know we're looking forward. We're moving forward. It's going to be really good at the University of Arizona.
Adia, maybe I'll hit you on that question. I know that your squad of women is so close and bonded. How are you processing this time and really kind of supporting them?
I think a lot of what, Dave said, just a lot of listening, an open forum for people to talk, express their feelings. And I said in the statement, it's important to meet the athletes where they are because it affects everybody differently. But I think we're seeing this generation has a voice, wants change, and it's been just a huge movement. I think, it's also affected by COVID too. But you're just listening, a lot of Zoom calls, and just a lot of support.
Kevin, how do you create kind of that safe space that we keep hearing is really needed for all students to be able to have some of the hard conversations that we're talking about, trying to have and needing to have?
I think it's about communication, right? Always. And particularly with our student athletes and young people. Everybody here has been on record and made statements about their own personal feelings, about everything that's going on. But I think young people right now, and I agree with Adia, it's about communication, it's about listening. And what I saw and what I'm seeing is frustration from people and young people needing some leadership. And so, what is change? They want to bring about change, but how do you do that? Mm-hmm. And right now, for everybody, that's a challenge. I mean, it just really is a challenge, to be honest with you. What is change? Everybody knows what change looks like, but how does that come about? And then personally, what are you going to do about it? And what I wrote about was that, there are a lot of people that can affect change, but our student athletes, a locker room is a melting pot of people from everywhere and from different races, from different backgrounds, from just different places, different countries. And so these young people want change, but they know that, and they understand the process because they deal with it every day to be successful. And so just listening and promoting that becomes a bigger deal than just talking. And so what we've done is, just like everybody else here, we spend a lot of time on Zoom talking with our student athletes and getting their feedback and just, encouraging them to be a great teammate, not just in the locker room, but be a great teammate in the world.
Sean, how's the basketball team processing it?
Well, a lot like Kevin and Adia just mentioned, Dave. I think the one thing that really jumps out, Alex, is how devastating what happened to George Floyd, how devastating it was to so many of our players. Like, it wasn't something that they just saw on TV and became emotional about and then left it. I think, took them to a place where their own family, their own history, if they've gone through anything remotely like that, they've seen anything like that, it came back to them, and it really, it's a real part of them. So I think for us, as we have the opportunity to eventually get them back this summer, one of the things we try to really talk a lot about is to try to come up with some things that we can put into action. And for me, just to help them, see through that process so that it's not something that you just became emotional about or feel, if you feel that strongly, what is it that we can do to help change? And Kevin kind of said that. Is it something that, the basketball team can bond with the women's basketball team, with the football team, with Mike Candrea and the softball team, where maybe we're able to do something that helps others, whether it's the community or future student athletes in the Pac-12 or at Arizona. So we tried to really keep that word action and allow them to, I think, foster those thoughts. But it is a very trying time. It's something I think that's important to every single one of our players. You know, the one thing that I do feel good about, and I'm sure that the other coaches feel the same way, is when you're in sports, especially at the level we're at the University of Arizona, when you look at your locker room, it's what Kevin said. I mean, we have people from different countries, you know, different backgrounds, and they're all with one objective. They're playing for the University of Arizona. They're trying to accomplish something together. Like color of skin and where you're from is like it's out the door in that moment when you're on the court. And I think, you know, sometimes when we have that type of classroom and these guys interact with each other, we can be a powerful group that can maybe help change in some way.
Yeah, and I think sports, people love it because it is the great equalizer. And I think we're really coming to a moment where we realize how important it is to surround ourselves not with likeness, but with differentness, so that we learn about each other and each other's struggles and issues. And Coach Candrea, it was really, I think, obviously George Floyd was the tipping point for a lot of people in what they feel has been going on, and in terms of our, you know, social inequity and racial injustice and things like that, very heavy issues. To kind of keep that, I think that is the special thing about a locker room or a clubhouse, is that you do have kind of this diverse group of young people who I think see the world as a place that they can make a difference and that they can make a change. Are you finding that?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, the one thing that we always talk about in our locker room is that we're family. And it really kind of hit me very hard, because I have two grandkids of color that I'm wondering, you know, how are they processing this? And it has really kind of woken us all up to have some tough conversations about the future. You know, I grew up in the South, and so I've lived through it, and I kind of thought we were moving in the right direction. I know in sport, it isn't an issue to someone like me in softball, but this really makes you step back and think a little bit about, have we really made any progress? And we haven't. And so we are trying to listen to our players, because, you know, the one thing I know is they're all in. This generation wants to be heard. And like Coach Sumlin said, you know, they may not know how to get there. They do need some leadership and some guidance. But I think it has hit our players and everyone harder than I've ever seen in anything that I've gone through. So, yeah, it's been a lot of sit back and reflect. I mean, kind of what COVID has done, it's kind of slowed things down and given people a lot of time to think about, you know, who I am and, you know, what's important and all those things.
Yeah, it's been such a, I think, roller coaster ride for so many of us. And I know I spoke to my mother today, who was on her way to Tucson, and was telling me she was looking at the Catalina foothills that are on fire. So I know that you all have a lot going on there as well, but it does feel like we're at this time where there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. So coaches, you just said, mentioning COVID, where we really started. And I think the first couple of weeks of it, where there was this kind of, in a weird way, like a cool time to be at home and reflect, and then also the fear of a pandemic and people's health, and kind of balancing those two things. But Adia, what have you learned, and how has this time, just kind of looking at COVID and starting from that initial experience, what has this been like for you?
I think for me personally, just a time to reset, like Coach Candrea said, think about what's important. I think when you're a little bit older, it's easier to process that it's going to come to an end, but I think it's been a really trying time for athletes.
Yeah.
They don't know what's next. They don't know what's going to happen. But I think for me, it is having, you know, the family time and just resetting, taking a step back, realizing what's important. What do you want to stand for? So I think just all those things. It's just been an interesting time. We don't know what the future holds, but that's something we can't control. So I think it's just day by day, supporting our athletes and just being there.
Sean, what's it been like for you from a team perspective, kind of what Adia is saying, like athletes typically are such creatures of habit, right? With their workouts and their routine, and this, like, they can't even get into a gym.
No, you're right, Alex. You know, I think some of it is, you know, for all of us to just take a step away. You know, what was important isn't as important right now. You know, first of all, when we communicate to our team, you know, the first question is, besides how's everything going in the city you live in with, some of the social unrest that we just finished talking about. But the second phase is, are you healthy? Is everybody in your family healthy? Are people healthy? That's a big question to be asked. And then, you kind of move into, not every one of our players have the same amount of resources. That's the biggest adjustment. Usually in the summer, we have them here. So they have the same weight room. They're eating the same food. They're on the same regimented schedule. Now you have to respect the fact that some of our players didn't have a gym to go to. Some of them were more scared to go to a gym once it opened than others were. Same thing with the weight room. So I think as much as I love to get them all back here, and I think we're going to eventually get them here, it's just to make sure that they're safe, that they're okay. And academically, that's the one thing we can control. That's different as well. I mean, you think about going from an inside of a classroom on a college campus, 30,000 students, to everything being online, and just making sure that they're comfortable in that phase. So we've gotten to this point okay. I can start to feel like they're breaking at the seams. I know I have 3 sons in my house, and it's like sometimes I'm the dad, like, what time do I wake them up in the morning? You're like, they should be up. But then you say, well, where are they supposed to go? It's just different for all of us. And I think, for me, I'm trying to just step back and do the best that I can and we can, in hopes that when these guys do come back to campus, that we're prepared for them, that they're healthy, and that we have a safe environment we're welcoming them back to, and then we'll take it from there.
And Dave, even things like eligibility have changed because of COVID, right? I mean, the additional year of eligibility for spring student athletes, I guess. I know that was important to you and to the University of Arizona. How is that going to be implemented this year? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think as many of our fans know, obviously the spring seasons were cut short. So were some of our, certainly our winter sports. When you look at our 2 basketball programs, chances to go deep into the tournament and really have remarkable seasons. Probably both of them on a upward trajectory at that point. I feel bad for those student athletes that weren't able to finish that last moment, that dream, that opportunity to compete in the tournament. But the spring sports were granted that chance to come back. We call them our super seniors now. The chance to come back and compete this bonus year. And we at Arizona wanted to honor that. We thought it was really important that any student athlete that would be granted another year of eligibility, that we would support them through that. And so Coach Candrea and our other spring sports, tennis, golf, baseball, track and field, all those student athletes would be able to come back and compete. It's created some nuances. We'll have bigger rosters, we'll have some different things, but a chance to, again, to finish their time. You always want your last moment to be on the field or on the court, that you walk off, that you have one more time in the huddle, you have one more time together, one more time in the locker room to close it out. I know I had a son who plays Division I baseball, and he was on a bus when they said, hey, the season was over, and that's hard on young people. And so again, I feel very, very blessed that those young people can have another season and close it out the right way. So we're excited to do that. And I know Coach Candrea has put a lot of time into that as well, to put his roster together and be ready for that.
Well, let's talk maybe logistics, Dave, since we have you kind of talking re-entry plan for student athletes. Let's maybe hit that one, and then let's move to fans who are all listening and wondering when they can get back to attending games and being a integral part of this program as well. So let's start student athletes first. What's the thought?
Well, hey, we're in it now. We've been over 3 months hoping for these days when we can begin to reintroduce our student athletes, bring some staff back. We've been able to bring back a small segment of football players. We've been very intentional, very methodical, an exhaustive planning exercise led by our medical team. Again, not only just inside of our athletic department, but our university and really our county and our state health professionals helping us develop this plan, under just unprecedented circumstances. but our ability to move forward and bring some of them back. So again, we are testing, we're bringing people back, we're testing them when they come back. We are putting them into isolation for a week before they come into the facility. So we're taking all of those precautions, and then we're testing weekly with the student athletes. So we've started with a small group of football players. We'll introduce another 30 football players in the next week. We have sights on bringing in our other fall sports. That's women's soccer, women's volleyball, our cross country, men's and women's cross country programs. But we're really, again, as Sean mentioned, traditionally we have our student athletes here in the summer. So we want to bring back our basketball players, our other student athletes, a chance to begin to train. They've been off for such a long time. This is going to be an interesting road to bring them forward, get them ready. And I know the coaches will talk more about that, but we put a good plan together. Our coaches have been involved in that. Our student athletes have been involved in that, our administrative team, and as we've mentioned, our medical team. So we've embarked on it, and we're excited to say that we brought those 20 back, and they're all healthy, and they all tested, didn't test positive. They tested negative for coronavirus. So we're pleased about that. And again, we really feel it's better to do it in small segments, be able to manage those populations so that we don't run into these moments where we have to shut down and then try to start back up.
So then what about fans? Where do we stand with fans returning to games and being able to be part of things in the fall?
Yeah, good question. We have 7 different work groups in our reentry team, planning team. We have over nearly 40 people working on this daily.
Wow.
We have a whole unit here focused on fans and large events, bringing people back. How would we host games at Arizona Stadium? How would we do that at McHale Center? What as we move on to the winter sports and begin to plan that. We're time is on our side a little bit right now, so we're waiting. We want to wait as long as we can so we can find a way to include as many people as possible. I don't think it's a secret that there'll be some type of modified fan involvement. What that capacity number will be, we won't be at a full capacity number in football as we start initially. But we want to try to bring in as many people as possible. But we're talking everything: entrance into the stadium, exiting. Will there be tailgating? How will we manage the concourse areas, the spacing around fans inside of the stadium, respecting the social distancing recommendations? That's all being put into place. So we think in the next 30 days we'll begin to really zero in on a number, but we want to accommodate a lot of fans. So that's kind of where we are right now.
And Dave, while we're just talking shop and getting some business out of the way, a lot of fans I think are asking also about credits and refunds if they're not able to go. So can you share the policy currently for those who have already paid for their season tickets and what might happen?
Yeah, right from the beginning, we've worked with our fans on different ways to lessen the burden on them in this uncertain time. Extending payment plans, extending renewal dates till we have more information, respecting the fact that some fans may be very reluctant to come back. And if they choose that, we want to honor their long time, my dog just started barking. Here we go.
I'm happy it's yours and not mine.
But long time, fans the opportunity to remain and hold their seats if they weren't going to want to come back. So we have a lot of options for them on the website, ArizonaWildcats.com. Under our ticket section, we outline all of those things. And, if we get to a point where unfortunately we would have to severely limit capacity or, gosh forbid that we would have to cancel, we would certainly provide refunds and opportunities for people to get credits that they could use for future tickets or get refunds. So want to be very, very aware of that and very supportive of our fan base.
Well, it sounds like a lot of flexibility is needed from everybody at these trying and kind of unprecedented times. Okay, we're going to do something a little fun. Adia, if you can see the chat there, we have our first prize break. So we're going to give away a prize pack with Nike Arizona Wildcat swag. So I haven't seen that pack yet. I'm wondering if maybe I can get one to come my way. I'm gonna have to check in with Nike, but I don't get it today. So Adia, if you can read the name of our winner.
So our lucky winner that's gonna be super swaggy after she wins this is Margaret Gorman. Yay!
All right, Margaret. So we expect you to be wearing all the Arizona gear whenever you go out. Our marketing team is going to be in touch with you, and they'll figure out how they can deliver that prize to you. And we'll do a couple more of these prize breaks as we go along. Okay, so let's talk about letter winners. So I don't know if you guys can see. I have my honorary. Let me see if I can do it without turning it around there. I have my honorary letter from the Arizona Athletic Department. So I like to say that I got Kevin through college there. So so I got a letter. No, maybe because I've worked in sports for 25 years. But okay, so maybe just give me a little bit of insight into people coming back to the program and people that have connections to the University of Arizona being associated. And I think one of the most recent ones, obviously, is Jason Terry coming back to work with the basketball team. And just maybe Sean, you can start with that. Like, what do you see as being a benefit of having somebody that really knows not only the university, but in Jason's case, really the program?
Jason, obviously, he's the ultimate example, Alex, because you think about it, all of us are competing for the top prize in our sport. How many times can you welcome back somebody that won a national championship and did it at the university that he's now going to be a coach at, right? So obviously, Jason won a national championship in 1997, became the National Player of the Year a year later, won a high school state championship in Seattle, and won an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks. So he's obviously very decorated, but I think when somebody comes back to where it in large part began, I think it says a lot about how much they love Tucson, how much they think back to their experience as a student athlete. And that experience wants them, almost allows them to want to come back and return to give back to those that, at one time they were. Jason came from Seattle, made his decision, and he made it happen here at the University of Arizona. And I think to have him on our bench, part of what we do, whether it's recruiting, player development, you name it, I don't think there's going to be a better role model for us than him.
And Coach Sumlin, maybe let's talk a little bit about just recruiting and some of the challenges for you as you go out and kind of are maybe one of the newer people here at the university, and really kind of getting your feet embedded, if you will, in the recruiting process, and being able to bring in more guys now that really have your thumbprint on them and be able to put a signature Kevin Sumlin piece on this program. So what have just been the challenges? Give us some insight into what this has been like from a recruiting standpoint. Maybe first let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's you got to be flexible. I think that's the big part. I think right now, with the changes in all of the rules, the NCAA rules, which happened a couple years ago to create the early signing date for football, really changed official visits and that piece for the summertime. Well, we don't have that right now. So, there's we spend a lot of time on Zoom and virtual meetings, virtual tours, virtual conversations with families and with young guys, and the clock's still turning. Guys are making decisions. The legislation passed about 2 weeks ago where, there are no official visits, a dead period all the way through July 31st. So for high school players, for guys that are trying to make decisions, as it used to be, we can't get them on campus. What we have to do, and what we've done, is a good job of utilizing our virtual tours, our coaches communicating with players, because it's tough for those guys and their families to not get on campus, not have that kind of personal relationship to walk a guy around and see it. So fortunately, we spent a lot of time with the virtual piece, and it's working. I mean, it's just communication, and it's kind of the new normal. It's like everybody said, you get up in the morning, staff meetings virtually, recruiting virtually. I was happy to see somebody else's dog barking and running around at Sean's place. My kid was outside working out. I made him go outside to get his workout because he can't go anywhere. So it's all part of life, right? But we all still have a job to do, and we're all working at it. And I think the other piece is, I think a lot of people see you like that. They see you normal, not just as, they see you, your kids running around, your dog barking, and they feel comfortable with you that way. And we're having some success utilizing virtual recruiting.
I think you're right. I was on a big conference this morning, and I think that was one of the things that's really come out of this experience, is that the fans and people, the viewers of many things, are enjoying really seeing people in their home environments, and whether it's athletes or coaches or celebrities, just kind of feeling a little bit closer to the authentic person. I was on a call with a NFL GM recently who was saying that he never thought the draft could be done. The NFL draft could be done the way it was done. And there's typically been so much formality surrounding that. I've covered it for many, many years. And it's, nobody's allowed in the draft room, and you can't talk to people while it's going on, and they've got the phones. And then all of a sudden they were put in this situation really where they just had to do it. And so they realized, I think, they could overcome a barrier that they always thought maybe they couldn't. So I think to what you were saying, it's like once you have to do it, now you realize like, oh, we can do this maybe a different way, and maybe more efficiently or effectively. So Coach Candrea, are there any things like that have come out of this experience that maybe have been a positive or have made the process that you go through, whether it's coaching or recruiting, more efficient or even maybe more enjoyable?
Well, if the first thing that comes to mind with me is bringing back 7 seniors and bringing in 8 freshmen. And so it caused some of our kids to really think about their future. So I wasn't used to that. I hate losing players, but it was one of those situations this year where some of these young ladies had to look at some other opportunities. And so that was one of the effects. Recruiting, we're in a dead period, so we haven't been able to do much. I'm just really dying for football to take the field. I mean, that is going to be the time I'm going to take a deep breath and know that we're back, because without that happening, it's going to be that unknown for the rest of the year. And as a planner, which most coaches are, that's been the toughest thing for me, is the unknown, is not having something to plan, or making sure that we have the flexibility when we get the information of what the situation is going to look like.
Yeah, because I think as much as we say athletes are creatures of habit, I think coaches maybe are more creatures of habit. Adia, have there been any positives that have come out of it for you?
Yes, some positives, but a lot of changes. I think the positives are you do have this FaceTime, but I think there's more negatives in the way it's affecting recruiting for women's basketball, just because it's really hurt our 2021 class. Because you think we don't have a lot of people we recruit that are in driving distance. So it's not like the East Coast where there's so many schools within 4 hours. So what you're seeing is a trend of a lot more kids staying regional, A, because of COVID, and then B, because they haven't been to your campus. So it has hurt us in that sense. But now we're with 22s and 2023s on virtual. So that's been a positive thing. It's kind of made the process go faster. But I think the other thing, how it's affected this class for women's basketball, is a lot of kids are making rush decisions without going to campus. And so I think that what you're going to see in women's basketball is in a couple of years, there's going to be a lot of transfers from the 2021 class, because they're kind of getting pressured. There's a lot of kids in the transfer portal, so there's more pressure to make a decision. I think that that's the thing that us as coaches don't like, but I think the positives are they do get to see Mateo interrupting my Zoom calls, but it poses a lot more challenges doing Zoom calls when you have kids, and it's a lot more difficult, but it is real. But sometimes I'm outside sweating on Zoom calls because I have to escape or hide somewhere. But it's the way it is, and I think it's going to be the new norm for a while, so we do the best we can. But I am ready for kids to be able to come back on campus after July 31st, because that's been so much of why we've been successful, is those relationships and parents coming to see campus. Virtually is one thing, but being there to touch and feel is very different. And also spending time with our players. When you do the virtual tours, you don't get that. So that's been another challenge. You want to make sure as a coach that you're bringing in players that fit with what you do and fit your culture. So those are the challenges for us.
Yeah, it sounds like there are a number of them. All right, we're going to go to a lighter side again and do our prize break. So, Coach Sumlin, I think you're going to announce this. So, I think we have the winner in the sidebar there, and again, we're going to give away a prize pack with Nike Arizona Wildcats swag. So, hopefully, you're getting something good. And Coach, can you see the name there? You want to announce our winner?
I cannot see it just yet. So for some
All right,
reason.
I'm gonna have to cover for you.
All right, I got it right now.
You got it. Okay.
All right. The new winner for the next prize is Thomas Jordan.
Yay, Thomas!
Congratulations, Thomas.
Nice. It's always good to get free U of A gear. I love
That's
it.
right.
Every time I come home to Tucson, we make a stop at the U of A bookstore and we stock up on some good gear. So my son lives in his U of A sweatshirts. All right, congratulations, Thomas. And again, our marketing department will reach out to you so that they can get this fabulous prize delivered to you. Okay, so we are going to now jump into some questions from the fans, because the fans have submitted a lot of questions and they would like to ask you guys for your insight on a number of things. So Coach Sumlin, I'm going to start with you. This question comes from Justin, and he would like to know who you think is going to be the top 3 players on each side of the ball in 2020.
Well, it's we want more than 3 that can do that. We'd like to have a top 11, right, or 15. But I think on defense, we've got a new staff, a new defensive coordinator. But I think our 3 linebackers have proven that they are all league caliber players. Colin Schooler has been here, played a lot of football. Anthony Pandy really came on and had a great year last year. And Tony Fields. I think those 3 guys are going to be the key to what we do defensively. They're flexible, obviously. Colin Schooler and Tony Fields have played a lot in the inside piece. Moving to a 3-4 gives us the opportunity to get Pandy on the field a little bit more, maybe as a pass rusher. He's gained some weight. He's strong. He's closer to 240 now than he was. So he really flashed a lot last year, and those 3 guys have played at a high level and played at an all-conference level. I think the biggest change for us this year, obviously, I think is going to be in our offensive line. Last year, in the games that we played, just looking back at it, we had a different combination of 5 guys in 10 of our 12 ball games, whether it was injury, whether it was, there could have been a lot of different things. That's the bad part about last year. The good news is this year, all those guys have played, so they're experienced. They know what they're doing. So I think the biggest change for us offensively, obviously with Grant Gunnell being a returning quarterback, a guy who's won games in the Pac-12, a guy who's played with experience. But I think our offensive line and the stability in our offensive line is going to be a big difference for us offensively.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think people don't realize how much it takes for kind of that group to really become cohesive, and just how important that offensive line is. And like you said, if you can get them experience and they can move up together, then they can be so versatile and make such a big difference. Coach Candrea, this one's coming from Lori. She wants to know, what does it mean to have softball back in the Olympics in, I guess it's 2021 now? And what is it like to have so many Wildcats, past and present, connected to the Olympic game?
Well, it's definitely a topic that gives me chills, because I had the opportunity to be a part of that experience, and it was very devastating when we were thrown out of the Olympic Games, basically, softball and baseball. And the thing I'm looking forward to be honest with you, is that in 21 we can bring home the gold in softball and quit talking about the silver that we got in 2008, because I have lost a lot of sleep over that. Not many people understand that, but it's going to be a great experience. Our Wildcats that have been involved as Olympians, I'm very proud of. And I've got we talk about alumni, and I thought the next time I would see you would be at the CATSI Awards. And
I know.
yeah, we'll take it anyway. But very proud of our alumni, and I've always tried to keep the family together. And so my assistant coaches are Caitlin Lowe and Taryn Mowat, two of the greatest that have played here. And I seem to be able to keep those kids back in Tucson because they love the place. So, yeah, the Olympics are going to be fun, and it's going to be a challenge. And just like us, you know, they were kind of in the middle of their tour when everything was stopped. So they're going to have to kind of reevaluate things. But on the other hand, we get Deja Mulipola back, who we missed last year. They've decided to let the 3 college kids play their college season this year and then join the team. So it kind of worked out good for us, but obviously looking forward to the United States bringing back the gold medal.
Yeah, my first Olympics was in 2008, and I've gotten to be around softball players a lot, and I know how upset they were when it went away from the Olympics. So it should be exciting to get to see them again. Coach Miller, this one is a question for you from Roy, and Roy wants to know, let's see, when you have to balance kind of, I guess, with a lot of players only playing 1 year of college basketball, I guess maybe more, how do you balance knowing that you'll have possibly a player for 1 year and then other players on your roster for 4 years? How do you balance building a recruiting class, and just how do you balance that, you know, I guess kind of challenge in basketball in general?
Well, at times it can be just absolutely insane, you know, because I think all of us love experience and continuity. It's what sports has been built on forever in any sport. You know, I hear Coach Candrea talking about having those seniors return. I mean, I'm sure part of what gives him a thrill of excitement thinking about it is just what all those kids have been through and the continuity and the leadership that they're going to provide for the young athletes that are in this program. When you tend to lose so many per year, that goes away. But what I'll tell you is, for us, it's blending an international flavor to our recruiting, which we did this year, not for the first time, but we really went all in of trying to get that blend. I think the right transfers, sometimes they'll sit out, sometimes they won't. And then, you know, trying to get the right high school players. You know, the thing that I think sometimes fans aren't always aware of, you can't always anticipate who's only going to be in a part of your program for a year. You think you can, but, you know, Zeke Najee would be the greatest example. When we recruited Zeke, we knew he got a diamond in the rough, very talented young player. But I don't think any of us would have thought he would have been the Pac-12 freshman of the year and one and done, and maybe a first-round pick in this year's draft. So, you know, Derek Williams, when it seems like 20 years ago now, but when I first came here, you know, Derek was a guy that a lot of people didn't even really know about coming from Southern California, yet he became the number 2 pick in the draft 2 years in. So, you know, you can't always plan for it, but I think what we're trying to do is have more balance to what we do as we move forward. Alex, I have a question. I have a topic for Kevin Sumlin. So I'm not a big golfer. And Coach, I love football, man. I love the Steelers, and I love Madden 20. Now, let me tell you about that game. If you ever, I don't know if you play Madden 20. Do you play Madden 20? I think you're on mute.
No, yeah, I play all the time.
Okay. So one thing I love about the game, when they pick off, when I throw an interception, I just hit restart. So when I hear football coaches talk about it's hard to win games when you turn the ball over, I got that loud and clear, right? Here's the second thing that I've learned. I like to blitz on every down, and you can give up some big plays blitzing if the guy you're playing against, which my sons are good. I mean, I've given up more 80-yard touchdowns in the month of May than any football coach in the history of the world, you know. But I'll tell you, and then the last one is, you know, recruiting's big. I love the Steelers. I can't play with any other team. And just recently I decided to switch to the 49ers because I feel like they got more speed on the game, you know. So even in Madden, you start looking. I only got, you know, J.J. Schuster running a thing. I need more talent out there, you know. But I tell you what, I've enjoyed playing that game, and I laugh sometimes thinking that here I am. I'm a college basketball coach, and just killing time with my sons playing, how little I knew about football, and it's like it's like that game, like same thing with like, if you can't kick a field goal, that's a bad deal because you miss a couple field goals, you're not going to win, but I've learned a lot about football during this quarantine, and I just wanted to share that with you. Okay.
Right. I know you just caught me off guard with that, but that's yeah, Madden is a big deal. It's big in this house too. It's big over in our building. So guys, it is actually a good teaching tool.
I can see that.
I make fun like with our guys all the time. They think they're great Madden guys, and then we get on the field and they're making the opposite decision, but they play a video game and they know what's going to happen on 3rd and 8. They know what's coming at them. They anticipate different things. Now we get out there live. It's like, just play Madden in your head and let your body go and do it. So it's a great tool. And like you said, to everybody else's point, I found myself just like you playing a bunch of different games with kids at different times that I would have never ever played. I play a lot of NBA too, so it's all right.
Yeah,
I was going to ask Sean and Adia if they're playing any NBA 2K, how their NBA 2K game is.
No, we do not allow video games in this household. I have a son and a husband. He is not playing video games. I will not buy one.
I'm impressed. I have given in. We have it's been interesting because we've really understood it's been a way for our son to connect with his friends during this time. They have, put on the headset and then they can play the games with each other. But Adia, let's ask you one more question from Sarah. She wants to know, things keep getting better and better, she says, and your recruiting is exceptional. What are your hopes for the upcoming season, and what concerns do you have in terms of your team's on-court performance?
The concerns I have is, like, on one side, they've had a lot of time off because, like Coach Miller said, there's so many different scenarios. Some are on lockdown and, like, let's say LA, can't get to a gym. Some can get to a gym. So there's just so many different scenarios. Our overseas kids, like, some of them couldn't leave the house. Mm-hmm. So it's so wide, just the access that kids have had. So my concern is a lot of time off, and we're going to have to work people in really slowly, and we're way behind. We normally have 8 weeks in the summer. We don't have that this year. So I think that's a big concern. But on the flip side, in the Ivy League and stuff, they don't have their kids for the summer. So maybe it's going to be a time where they can also reset. They can be a little bit more appreciative about what they have and work a little harder when they're here. So I'm optimistic, hoping that will be the case. But as far as recruiting, we're still recruiting. That's going well. We have one committed kid for 2021, which is a local kid from Arizona. But, I think that I'm just interested to see what's going to happen when we get back. Like, how is it going to be, or who's going to be in shape, who isn't. And if we're going to have a lot shorter time period to get everybody ready. So in a year where the expectations are higher, that's a little bit of a concern. And as far as recruiting going well, I think some of the best news we had was Ari coming back because Ari makes everything look a lot better on defense and offense. You always need a good player. So I think that her decision was the right decision to come back. And I think even if you look now, the situation, the uncertainty with the WNBA, now they're going to play, but it's very different. And the money in Europe's different because just the economy. So I think she made the right decision. She's going to get her master's degree. And, we're a lot better with her, obviously. So I'm just excited for the future. We have some good freshmen coming in. So I think, this is uncharted territory for us. A lot of kids in our program haven't really won. I mean, we won the NIT, but we didn't have the experience of the tournament this year. So how is it going to be being the hunted versus hunting? Mm-hmm. I think in a sense, it's easier to hunt and try to knock people off like the Stanfords that are top 5. But how are we going to react to the pressure and, winning under it? So I'm curious. I'm excited. But I think that all of our players are extremely hungry, especially Ari, coming back with something to prove, and we want to do something special. So I'm really, really excited to get back on the court.
We're excited to watch you and keep that momentum going. Coach Candrea, you talked a little bit about the 7 seniors that will be coming back. Just talk a little bit about the chemistry and the impact that you expect that to have on your team.
Well, I think Coach Miller talked a lot about it, and it's so true. What I'm looking forward to is the 7 seniors that we have coming back can all play. So they're all very good players. They're all very good people, high character kids, and they're going to provide leadership that I don't need to worry about. And I think that's going to be just so much fun, because I know our freshmen coming in is a #1 recruiting class. And so for them to get the opportunity to spend time with this senior class, I couldn't feel any better about how we're going to progress from here on out. But just like Adia says, the unknown is killing me right now. I mean, you've got all these high expectations right now, and probably this is the year that I would feel better if we knew what we're doing. But this team should go a long ways, and sometimes that expectation changes how people play. And so I think time will tell. I can't predict the future, but I do like the pieces that I have. And if it was a video game, I'd feel pretty good about it too, because they're pretty good players.
Well, it sounds like it'll be an exciting season. I'm going to have you, if you don't mind, announce our 3rd prize winners. So again, we're giving away the Nike Arizona Wildcat swag bag. And Coach, can you see that in the chat box, who we're going to give it to? See if a name. I can help you if it doesn't pop up with you.
Here it is. Okay. It looks like the next winner is Richie Benner.
Richie Benner. Okay, Richie, congratulations. We'll get that. Somebody will reach out to you and we will get that delivered to you. And okay, we have one more prize to give away after this, but I want to get through a few more things with you guys. I think we've talked a fair amount about what we've learned about the teams and athletes. Can maybe just quickly give me something that you've learned about yourself? Coach Candrea, you just talked about, kind of the need to be flexible and nimble, and maybe I'll start with you. Just give me kind of a quick nugget on something you've learned about yourself.
Well, we've been up in Pine Top for a couple of months, kind of got out of the heat, and we have a place up here, and it's given my wife a different taste of me. I don't think we've ever spent this much time together. So she's been pretty honest with me and kind of blasted me between the eyes about who I am and sometimes some of the things that I do. And so from a personal standpoint, that's my personal improvement plan right now is trying to make her happy, and some of the stuff you don't realize that you do, but yeah. So I've had a great experience.
A friend of mine said to me the other day, her husband usually travels, and she said to him, I need him to go away so that I miss him.
Exactly.
Coach Sumlin, what about you? What have you learned during this time?
I think it's what we talked about earlier. I think it's about flexibility. Just like you brought up, players are creatures of habit. Coaches are big time creatures of habit. And you become flexible and more creative. The in-person meetings are gone, right? And so how you interact with your staff, how you interact with your current team, how you interact with recruits, completely different than any other time. And so the ability to listen to ideas, particularly from a technology standpoint, become important. I think, as you've got some guys who are on your staff, they're set in their ways, and you have to be able to move on with, I know that some of our older coaches on the staff have really improved themselves technically with technology, because they've had to be able to communicate, even though they held off on it for years, but over the last 3 months, the ability to communicate with each other, and then the flexibility of saying, hey, listen, news changes every week with players returning. News changes every day right now with what's going on, what the expectations are. So the ability to adapt and to plan and kind of sit back and take your time to do those things have been important, because by this time, just like everybody else on here, I've got a book that I open, and you take this schedule, you tweak it a little bit. You've got the same days for practice. You got this, you've got the recruiting schedule. You've got all that mapped out. But as soon as you make one plan on Friday, Monday will bring about a new change and a new direction. So to be flexible, to be able to adapt, and then have the staff and your players feel comfortable with that is completely different than probably any other time I've ever coached.
I would imagine too, all of us with children and grandchildren, understanding that our kids or young college students' perspectives is so different just based on their perspective, because they're not kind of having the same issues or life experience that we all have. So for them, like I've noticed with my own teenagers, just what a change and how real it has been for them to not be with their friends, or to not be able to get out of the house, or to not go to high school. So I think just kind of really being able to understand their perspective and how it's affecting them, it's such a different way than how it's affecting us, like to go to school in their bedroom or not have that connection with their friends and people has been something that strikes me a lot. Coach Miller, anything that you really learned about yourself during this process?
You know, I think it's very similar to what everybody has said. You know, I would say the one thing, you know, really learning through the 3 sons that I have, you know, our oldest son is in his last year of law school. So his stress point is, how's this going to work for me? And I've sacrificed, I've spent a lot of time in school, and it's all about getting a job. Will there even be a job? How's that going to work? What do I do differently? You know, no one has gone through this before. You know, our middle son is getting ready to be a senior at the U of A, kind of ditto for him in a different way, leaving college, like, you know, a year from today, like, how do I go about what I'm supposed to be doing? And then, you know, our youngest, and this goes back to kind of what Adia was saying, you know, if you think about the group of kids that may have been impacted the most, at least to this point, in my opinion, are the seniors that were in high school. Because when you think back to your senior year, you think of the prom, you think about a state championship, you think about that spring when you knew that you were never going to walk through those doors ever again, right? Well, that all was taken from them, and they didn't even have a chance to say goodbye. There was no closure, a graduation ceremony, and, you know, graduation party, right? All those things. And then, you know, he is trying to figure out, okay, how do I bounce from this situation to going to college? So, you know, I think as it applies to me, I really miss the interaction of sports, just teaching guys, being around them, sometimes not even talking about basketball, but just the camaraderie that comes with sports. And who would have ever thought that it would actually be taken from you? You know, that was always something you could choose to like do or not do. But when you can't do it, even if you wanted to, it's you crave that communication and interaction that just seemed to be something you totally took for granted. And that would probably be my last point of, it really hits you hard of all the things you took for granted before this happened. And I think we're all just hopeful that we can return back to it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, even like going to see your parents or being able to fly someplace, you know, things that you were able to do, you know, when you wanted to, now you have to really think about it. Dave, maybe you could weigh in on this too, because I'd be interested in knowing, just from an administrator standpoint and somebody who everybody's looking to for answers, you know, what you've taken away from this and just in your role.
Well, I think it's much like everyone said, and I think the toughest thing is we don't have a lot of answers. It's been touched on a few times. You know, things change. We got to be flexible. We got to be able to adapt, because we don't have all the answers. We don't really know what's coming around the next corner, and that's very tough for whether it's in administration or coaching. You know, we set our plan. We know where we want to go. We have goals. We can see an outcome. You know, in this case right now, we've just kind of been working down a lot of different roads, hoping that one day we'll get on the right one and it'll take us where we need to go. And that's probably been the most difficult. And commend our staff, you know, the coaches, their staffs, and, you know, our administrative team with just all the uncertainty. Sport is about certainty. Sport is about, we know where we want to go. And this has been, how do we function in uncertainty continually? That's been very difficult. And I commend what our staff's done, and certainly the head coaches, and keeping our programs together, staying connected with their student athletes. It's been remarkable. It's been very impressive.
Yeah, and even the university, I mean, I've been surprised at how quickly educators have been able to really transition. And as we talk about technology, I mean, you know, sometimes I can barely operate a Zoom call, and, you know, they're having to figure out how to teach an entire class and engage, you know, groups of young kids or teenagers, and to just kind of be able to pick up and do that right now and switch. It's been, I think, challenging for everybody. Okay, let me get our last giveaway, because I think we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we get this one out. Coach Miller, I think we were going to have you announce this one if you see it there in that little chat box, if you have that up. So again, we're giving away another Nike Wildcat swag package. So Sean, if you see that one, you want to announce it?
The winner is Mary Heedley. Congratulations, Mary.
Mary, we look forward to styling you with that, and the marketing team will reach out to you to make sure that they can get that to you in a timely fashion. Okay, so before we go, we have to ask Adia about, I understand you're expecting a second child, is that correct, in September?
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't recommend getting pregnant at 43 because when you see the paper that says geriatric pregnancy, you're going to be mad. It's too old. I understand why we're not supposed to be pregnant at 43. But
well,
yeah.
How's it been? How are you feeling?
Well, I mean, this is the most time I've actually had to like put my feet up, because on Zoom I can just sit here. So it's been great for the pregnancy. But we're expecting a little girl in the end of September, so September 21st. So we're super excited. I'm definitely going to be done because of an age thing, but we're excited, but it was unexpected.
And has it been really different? I mean, I can imagine just with COVID and everything, kind of doing your regular doctor's appointments and all that you typically do when you're pregnant.
Yeah, because usually you're really excited to go get your ultrasound and see the baby, get the pictures. Now you're terrified to death to go to the hospital because that's like the last place you want to go. But it's been good just getting the rest. We're excited. Mateo's 5, so it's a little bit of a gap, but yeah. And also, honestly, with COVID, you're more afraid to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because it just, no one knows what happens if you get pregnant with COVID. It's all the unknown. So I literally haven't gone anywhere.
All right, we have like 2 minutes left. So the last thing I want to do is, I know as we've all been at home a lot, we've watched a lot more television and read a lot more books or listened to a lot more books. We watch The Last Dance as a family every Sunday night here. I'm sure you guys have done similar things. So let's just bop around really quick and give me like a book or TV show, something that's impacted you or that you can recommend to the fans that they might want to either watch or read. Sean, what are you watching or reading?
You know, Yellowstone is about ready to come. I think season 3 or 4. I can't wait. I think it's coming this weekend. Is the new season. So I would highly recommend Yellowstone if you haven't seen it. Kevin Costner's in there, and it's a wild show.
Nice. And U of A grad, my little brother Mark Weistrack and his band Midland actually does some of the music on Yellowstone. So another U of A connection for you all. Coach Sumlin, what about you? What are you watching or reading?
The Last Dance, we watched that as a family Sunday nights, and just one, and then Monday night. So, but somehow my oldest got me involved in binge watching Ozark, which is really a different show. But
good show, though. Good show.
All a lot going on right there. I don't know if I recommend it, but it was pretty good for a while.
It's high on the list of a lot of people. Coach Candrea, how about you? What are you reading or watching?
Well, I'm watching. I've watched more TV than I've watched in my entire life, but we got involved in Designated Survivor. Another very, very complex but very interesting show. It's definitely kept my attention.
We'll have to look that one up. And Adia, how about you? Are yours kid friendly, or what do you think?
Well, for The Last Dance, we were really excited to watch that as a family. I think Salva was more excited about The Last Dance than he was my pregnancy. So that was one thing. But we'll watch a lot of Morphle in this house, a lot of Netflix Morphle because of Mateo. I now have recommendations of Ozark and Yellowstone, but I'm a Game of Thrones person. So I just want Game of Thrones to have another season. I love that show. And that's like the only show I've ever really watched. So.
Well, our time is up, you guys. It was so great to spend an hour with you and all of the fans at Arizona. And I'm hoping that I get to come back and watch some of your teams play this year, and whether it's watching you guys on TV or watching you in person. It was awesome to spend some time with you all and just hear how you've been using these last couple of months. And you guys are all doing such an incredible job. And thank you for letting me do this today. And thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. So we all say, I guess, goodbye to the fans and the season ticket holders. And we will see you all, I guess, when we see you.
For sure. We're looking forward to that. Thanks, Alex, for your help today.
Thank you,
Alex.
Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Bear down.